I was 2 hours into my shift, standing at the fry station, when the lights flickered. Not unusual for this old McDonald's, especially during the graveyard shift. I didn't think much of it, just kept dumping frozen fries into the oil. Then, the drive-thru headset crackled, cutting through the quiet hum of the kitchen. That wasn't unusual either. But what I heard next wasn't the typical, "Can I get a Big Mac?" It was breathing. Slow, raspy breathing. I tapped the headset. Hello? Welcome to McDonald's. Can I take your order?" No response, just more breathing. My stomach tightened a little, but I told myself it was probably a prank. "If you're not ordering, I'm gonna have to clear the line," I said, trying to sound annoyed instead of nervous. Then, finally, a voice. Low, rough, like someone who hadn't spoken in years. "I'm in here." The fries sizzled loudly behind me, but I didn't move. I stared at the drive-thru camera. Nothing. No cars. No one at the speaker. Just an empty, dimly lit parking lot. "What?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm in here," the voice repeated. This time it wasn't coming from the headset. It was coming from somewhere inside the restaurant. I spun around, my eyes darting across the kitchen. The grill, the fryer, the prep station. Everything was still, but I felt it, this heavy, crawling sensation on my skin, like I wasn't alone anymore. "Tommy, you okay?" called Sarah, my coworker from the front counter. I hadn't even noticed her coming back from the lobby. "Yeah, I hesitated. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" she said, wiping her hands on her apron. "The headset. Someone said they're in here." Sarah frowned. "There's nobody here, man. The dining room's locked." I grabbed the manager's keys from my pocket and went to check the front door anyway. Sure enough, it was locked tight. The windows showed the same empty parking lot. No one could have come in, but that voice? It wasn't in my head. The fry timer went off, making me jump. Sarah laughed. "You're freaking yourself out. Get the fries, and I'll check the cameras." I nodded and pulled the basket from the oil, trying to act normal. The smell of grease and salt filled the air. Familiar, comforting. But it didn't help. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. Sarah's voice came from the office. "Tommy, you might want to see this." I wiped my hands and walked over. Sarah was staring at the security monitor, her face pale. She pointed to the screen showing the kitchen. It was us, me at the fryer, her walking back to the counter. But behind me, just for a second, a shadow moved. Not a normal shadow. It was wrong. It didn't match anything in the kitchen, and it didn't move like a person. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. "I don't know," Sarah said, her voice shaking, "but it's not a glitch. Look." She rewound the footage, and there it was again. The shadow. It came from the corner by the walk-in freezer. We both turned toward the freezer. The door was shut, the light inside off. I didn't want to check. Every instinct I had screamed to leave it alone, but Sarah grabbed my arm. "We need to see," she said. "What if someone's in there?" "Someone?" I asked. "You think that thing is a person?" She didn't answer. I grabbed the handle of the freezer door and slowly pulled it open. The cold air hit me like a wall, but the space was empty. No shadow. No sound. Just shelves of frozen food. I was about to close it when Sarah gasped and pointed. On the frosted wall, just above the ice cream boxes, were words, written with a finger, like someone had scraped the frost away. "I see you." We stumbled back, slamming the door shut. "Call the cops," I said, my voice shaking. Sarah fumbled for her phone. Before she could dial, the lights flickered again. This time, they didn't come back on. The restaurant plunged into darkness, except for the faint glow of the fryer. Then we heard it. The same voice as before, low and raspy. "I told you, I'm in here." The sound came from the walk-in freezer, and the door, which I had just locked, creaked open on its own. Working the night shift at McDonald's isn't exciting. It's mostly cleaning, flipping burgers, and listening to the occasional drunk customer slur their way through an order. But that night, something happened. I'll never forget, something that still makes me shiver every time I think about it. It was around 2 a.m., and the store was dead. Sarah had clocked out early, leaving me alone to handle the rest of the shift. The manager, as usual, was asleep in the office. I didn't mind the quiet, though. It gave me time to finish my task without anyone breathing down my neck. I had just finished wiping down the counters when I heard it, a faint, high-pitched giggle. I froze, the damp rag still in my hand. The sound came from the PlayPlace, the brightly colored maze of tubes and slides in the corner of the restaurant. It was supposed to be empty. The doors to the dining room had been locked for hours, and no one could have gotten in without me noticing. Another giggle echoed, louder this time. My stomach twisted. It wasn't a normal laugh. It sounded wrong, like a kid, but distorted, like they were trying too hard to sound happy. "Hello?" I called, walking cautiously toward the PlayPlace. My shoes squeaked on the freshly mopped floor. "We're closed. You're not supposed to be in here." No answer. The PlayPlace loomed in front of me, the bright reds and yellows looking almost sinister under the dim fluorescent lights. I peered into the main tunnel. It was dark inside, the shadows stretching deeper than they should. "All right, enough games," I muttered, grabbing my flashlight from the counter. I turned it on and pointed it into the tunnel. For a moment, all I saw was empty plastic. And then it moved. A shadow darted across the beam of light, fast and low. I jerked back, my heart pounding. "Hey! Get out of there!" I yelled, my voice cracking. The shadow didn't respond. Instead, I heard the sound of something crawling, slow, deliberate, like hands and knees scraping against the plastic. I swallowed hard. "This isn't funny," I said, stepping closer. My flashlight shook in my hand as I pointed it up toward the slide. The crawling noise stopped. And then, from deep inside the tubes, I heard a whisper. "Come play with me." It wasn't a child's voice. It was deeper, rougher, like someone trying to sound like a kid. My chest tightened, and every instinct screamed at me to leave. But instead, I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I climbed into the PlayPlace. The plastic tunnel creaked under my weight as I crawled inside. The flashlight beam wavered in front of me, casting long, jagged shadows. The air smelled stale, like sweat and old fries. "Whoever's in here, you need to leave now," I said, my voice trembling. I'm not joking. A soft tapping sound echoed through the tunnels, like fingers drumming against the plastic. It was coming from above me, near the climbing net. I aimed the flashlight upward, and for a split second, I saw something. A face peeking down at me through the netting. It wasn't human. The face was pale, almost gray, with wide, empty eyes that reflected the light like a cat's. Its mouth was stretched into an unnatural grin, too wide, showing rows of sharp, uneven teeth. It tilted its head, watching me, and then it scurried out of sight with a horrible, wet scraping sound. I scrambled backward, nearly dropping the flashlight. My heart was racing so fast I thought it might burst. "Get out of here!" I shouted, my voice breaking. "You're not supposed to be in here!" The thing didn't answer. Instead, I heard the slide creak, and when I turned the flashlight toward it, I saw something moving, crawling, down the spiral slide. I bolted. Crawling out of the PlayPlace, I hit the floor hard and scrambled to my feet. Behind me, the plastic tunnels creaked and groaned as something heavy moved through them. I ran to the office, slamming the door behind me and locking it. My hands shook as I grabbed the security monitor controls and flipped through the cameras. The dining room was empty. The PlayPlace was still. Nothing moved. But then, on the camera facing the PlayPlace entrance, I saw it. A shadow. It slid out of the tunnel and onto the floor, moving like a snake, its limbs too long and too thin. It paused, turning its head toward the camera. Its grin widened, and then it waved. I didn't wait to see what it did next. I grabbed my phone and called the police, babbling about an intruder. When they arrived, they found nothing. The doors were locked, the cameras had been wiped clean, and the PlayPlace was empty. But I'll never forget that face, or the way it whispered, "Come play with me." I quit the next day.